BSA or Birmingham Small Arms actually started off by making firearms in the 1880s, late 1880s, and the first motorcycle that BSA produced was actually in around 1910. And by the 1930s, 1940s, BSA started making a lot of motorcycles, at one point becoming the largest producer of motorcycles in the world. And from the 1940s to the 1960s, BSA's most famous and iconic model was the BSA Gold Star. And this year today is the new BSA Gold Star. The brand has been acquired by India's classic legends, and that's the new Gold Star 650. We'll talk all about it. How does it ride? How does it perform? How does it handle? And of course, take a close look at it. But before that, please do like the Car and Bike channel. If you haven't yet, hit that bell icon. And if you like this review, please do consider sharing it with your friends. Now, if we talk about modern classic motorcycles, to my mind, I think the new BSA Gold Star has totally nailed it modern classic design to the T. Just look at it, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, looks are subjective of course, but I think in terms of design, the new Gold Star 650 has totally nailed it. It actually looks straight out of the 60s, and that's saying something, isn't it? Now, if you look at the new Gold Star up close, you will not be in doubt this is actually a modern classic. Now the design elements, just look at it. The side panels, it's got that old BSA insignia with the 3 rifles stacked up. That's a homage to the old BSA insignia. That same thing has been used here on the plate over the engine, but in the 1960s, the overhead valve engine, which has push rods, but this one is an overhead cam engine, modern engine, and that also has an insignia of the 3 rifles stacked up upright. And if you look at the crankcase, that's also a homage to the old BSA 6 of the 1960s. Now, you look at the fuel tank lid, that also has that same insignia, and it has that 1903 established. That's when the BSA brand was established. 1903, and started making motorcycles around about 1910, but that's pays homage to the history of the brand. And if you look at the speedometer and the tachometer analog, both clocks with an inverted needle, both the tachometer and speedometer. Now there was a speedometer company called Smiths which used to make similar speedometer consoles for motorcycles back in the 50s and 60s, British era motorcycles, which also had a similar inverted needle. This one has been made like that to give it a sort of classic touch there. And if you look at the teardrop shaped tank, this also leaves no doubt this is a classic. And of course this beautiful BSA emblem here, which leaves no doubt this is a BSA. A classic round headlight, but of course this doesn't get LED. Now you get spoked wheels, again a retro touch, but you get a modern 320mm disc up front with Brembo calipers. And of course, if you look at the engine, it's got fins like the old air-cooled engines of the BSAs from the 60s, but this doesn't require fins because it's a liquid cooling. That's the radiator there, and the P-shooter exhaust, classic BSA style. On the rear also you get a 255mm disc so that you get good braking power. And overall the stance, the proportions, to my mind, it looks absolutely gorgeous, but there are small modern touches. In terms of features, don't expect too much because there are not too many features. You get a charging port here, both A-type and C-type charging port. You have a 12-volt socket also on this side, and on the console you get a small round telltale light console on the mounted on the headlight, which gives you your size indicator, ABS indicator and whatnot. And there's a small digital screen, but that only has your odometer and 2 trip meters. And of course on the tachometer you get a fuel gauge also. But those are the only features you can talk of. There's no other features, no traction control. Of course this gets dual channel ABS, but no traction control, no other electronics to speak of. So BSA has kept it very simple, very pure, and I think, to my mind, it totally nails that modern classic genre to the T. And I find this motorcycle well proportioned, good looking, and it doesn't look like anything else. It is inspired by BSA's own Gold Star models from the 1960s, so it doesn't look like any other classic, modern classic motorcycle from any other brand. That's a solid plus point. 780 seat height, so not very tall. It could accommodate riders of all height. For reference, my height is 5 feet 9 inches. I can comfortably sit flat foot both sides, so nice upright riding position. And yeah, so that's the retro roadster BSA Gold Star 650. I quite like the way it looks. What are your thoughts about the looks? Do you like it, or do you think there could have been some improvements on the bike's looks? There's only one thing which, again, it's subjective. You may like it, some others may don't like it. I think the tail section, the tail light, although it looks nice, but I would have preferred a slightly different tail light design. Maybe the positioning could have been different, but that's only me. It's not a deal breaker. Overall, the bike looks well proportioned, nice, original. But do let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts on the new BSA Gold Star's design? Time to gear up, go for a ride, and tell you all about how it rides. The BSA Gold Star 650 is all about its single-cylinder engine. If you want to ride it in a relaxed manner, it will chug along nicely. But the Gold Star 650's engine has also got a strong mid-range, and the slightly over-square engine is a delight, free revving and with a strong surge of torque.
It's got a dollops of torque. Just open the throttle and it just, oh yes, it goes. It goes, and how? Yeah, that rush of torque is quite nice on this engine. Let's open the throttle from 2000 to 4000 RPM to the rush of torque. So yeah, it's quite urgent, this engine. And if you want to know about vibes, it's a big bore single cylinder, so there are some vibes, but nice vibes, not bad vibes. So it doesn't seem like it'll fall apart. So if you think that those vibes will make it feel rattly, that's not the case. It's a vibey engine, yes, but it's a nice, characterful vibe.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the handling and front-end feel of the Gold Star 650. What could have been better is the feel from the rear suspension. At times over smooth wavy surfaces, it feels plush, but over broken roads and potholes, the rear suspension feels firm. Overall, it's a stable motorcycle which will not surprise you even when cornering. The Pirelli Sportscom tires, however, provide adequate grip in the dry, and what is particularly impressive is the performance of the brakes. Now 90 km per hour will come in 3000 RPM, and by the time you even hit 4000 RPM, you're already at 100 km per hour. Yes, 4000 RPM onwards, you will feel some vibes, and it revs out at around 7000 RPM. But those vibes are not something which are really alarming. It won't feel like the engine is going to fall apart. There are vibes, it's a big single cylinder engine, but those vibes are not very alarming or something to complain about. And today's a hot day. There is some engine hit, particularly on the left side. It's a big bore engine, so you will feel some engine hit despite being a liquid cooled engine. Yes, so engine hit is there. So if you're riding all day long, particularly in traffic, you will feel some heat. I felt some heat on the left side, but it's not something which is disturbing or which you'll complain about a lot. So now time to answer the final question that you've been waiting for. How is the new BSA Gold Star? In one simple word, it's a very good bike. Now we'd also have another question following that. How is it compared to the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650? After all, prices are the same, engine displacement are the same, but I think it will not be fair to compare this with the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, primarily because the character and the personality of both bikes are different. That's a parallel twin engine. It's got more refinement, 270 crank. This one is a big bore single cylinder. It's got a completely different personality and character. And being a modern classic, it's not always about chasing high speeds or chasing accelerator figures or running from stoplight to stoplight. Not that this will disappoint you, because the torque, that rush of torque, makes it feel quite quick, even in going from stoplight to stoplight. In the ultimate analysis, I feel if you want a modern classic in that price bracket, you should definitely take a test ride of the BSA Gold Star 650. After all, riding a modern classic is all about going easy in a relaxed, unhurried manner, smelling the roses, checking out the scenery, and chugging along at a quiet, relaxed pace. And to that end, the Gold Star 650 will not disappoint you. And if you still want a comparison, do follow Car and Bike. We will shortly be doing a comparison of this with the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 anyways to get you the answers that you want.